My name's Mustashrik, and I'm a illustrator. From a very early age, I was very exposed to comic books, and I'd always had an active interest in terms of having it as a source of kind of escapism. And when I was 8, I struck up a correspondence with a submissions editor in Marvel Comics, and it was basically on a monthly kind of basis. I'd submit small press kind of little 3-page comics to this Marvel editor, and we struck up a bit of a correspondence, and he kind of was the one that he wrote back to me with a big thesis, kind of like a dossier of like do's and don'ts of comics, if you're really serious about sequential storytelling, and how to basically develop yourself so that you could have an individual voice in the industry. Because for him, it was really important that if you're going to do comics, you take it seriously, because it's a meat market and there are so many amazing talented artists out there that you really need to sit down and draw every day. Even if it was for like an hour a day, you have to draw. And also he really used to hit it home on the fact that you shouldn't draw from other comics or photos or pictures. You should just go out and experience life and draw from real life and your own real experiences. So from that kind of aspect, I was always very actively involved in the idea of becoming a comic book artist and making comics. And so for me, it was always like a life mission, a life kind of goal to be able to express myself using comics, because I'm a big film lover as well. I'm now directing as well, which is touch wood, very very fortunate to be doing that. But when you're a kid and you're sitting there and you're watching something like Star Wars or Star Trek, and you have no technical understanding of how to shoot something in space or make something look like it's in space, but you realise with the comic book medium you can tell any story in any galaxy, on any planet, in the future or the past, with just simple materials, pen, paper. And for me that was the allure, because it was kind of like I never ever really truly believed that I'd get to a point where actually someone would let me film something. But if someone would let me print a story, then fantastic. So I really dedicated myself to understanding everything that goes into generating a comic. It's the whole idea of like creating a world. So you create a whole universe and characters, and there's laws and physics that exist in this world within this comic, and that's how I approach it. And so from that aspect, I've always actively been involved in doing comics. But I've only really done a lot of kind of short format stories, like lots of shorts, small zine, independent press kind of stuff, and one full-length graphic novel, which is this Julius Caesar one here, which I'm here to promote, which is actually from 7 years ago. And it's only kind of now is it becoming kind of relevant with the idea of everyone adapting classical literature, because it's it's obviously written by William Shakespeare, and it's original Shakespeare text. So it's kind of like what Baz Luhrmann did with Romeo and Juliet, where he brought it to contemporary audience. So it's that kind of idea, but only now is it kind of really starting to pick up the right kind of momentum, because it's more relevant. The idea people are going back to classical literature and adapting it in new kind of ways. So I think it's about full circle now. I'm prepping, getting ready to do my next comic book, fingers crossed, full format graphic novel after 7 years. So that's kind of my thing. I've always believed this, and I've always fought this kind of front, is that I think it's one of the purest mediums of being able to express whatever story or commentary or narrative that you want to express as an individual artist. Like when you deal with other mediums like film or music or whatever you have, it's like it's almost a production by conglomeracy. Like you have lots of people in the melting pot stirring things around, and you constantly have to fight to kind of get your voice heard. But with comics, especially independent press, is that you can literally put anything to paper and print and distribute it, provided that you obviously have the financial backing to do it. But for me, it's as simple as that. It's as honest and as simple as it gets, from head to hand to paper. And I think it's just really interesting to see. For a lot of people, they might not necessarily be able to express themselves articulately, with words, but they might be able to express themselves through image, and they might use comics as a medium to kind of, turn comments they have on life or society, but into metaphors in a comic, and I just find it really interesting. You can find so many symbols and meanings in comics. It's kind of like, I guess, you have, these comics with huge ensemble casts, like the superhero tales that Marvel and DC bring out, and you have all these special characters. Like, let's take the X-Men for example, and you have someone like Wolverine, and then you have Cyclops and Gambit, and they're all such distinct personality types that I think if you look at comics with that kind of level of kind of intellect, it's like you start to begin to understand the kind of characters you might meet in life as well. You've got like the emo kid, and then you've got like the angry hothead who's suffered some kind of personal turmoil, and that's why he is the way he is. So for me, I found it fascinating, like reading something like the X-Men more so than Spider-Man, because everyone knows Spider-Man's a 14-year-old boy inside, trapped in a man's body or whatever, and he's kind of very juvenile. But like, you have the X-Men, and you have like this whole cast of very distinctly different personality types. And I think, the more you read comics and the more kind of varied comics that you read, you just get introduced to how people see and want to express life, I guess. I mean, I think it's important for people to just read, not just comics, just books and everything, just in general, just because you're starting to understand what is inside of someone, like the artist or the writer.
This South African comic book type of festival thing didn't really exist 2 years ago. Not that I know of anyway. And I just think the support that's building for local comic artists is absolutely amazing. I've met so many artists through this event and other similar local events. It's really good to see the level of art that's coming out of South Africa, and to actually meet with these people. And it's a good community. They're all really nice people, and they're very accepting of you. I mean, I don't live in Cape Town, so I don't really get to meet these people and interact with them, often. And it's just really been nice meeting them online. I mean, I meet most of them online and chat to them online before I actually meet them, and you actually get to meet the people. They're really nice, down to earth people. They like the same stuff that you do. And everyone's happy to share their techniques and what they do. People just want to share what they do with you, and you want to do that in return. And that's how you grow a community, and that's great.
And it's kind of, for me, it's like a creative escape from the corporate world, and it's building and especially for reading comics, it's escaping like your current reality into delving into a different world, seeing the folklore behind it, and just basically losing yourself a bit. And that just inspires me to create my own worlds and my own ideas, my own sort of reflecting on like my own ideologies and folklores, and creating interesting characters. I particularly like designing interesting characters, and specifically if I try to keep like the local aspect to it, like with a more South African flavor, all the better.
I think the comic book festival itself is very important in showcasing art, or this kind of art, to people who don't really know that it exists, especially situating it in the open book festival. People sort of only really think about books as being a written narrative, and having it like done visually in a very visual manner is like eye-opening to lots of people, as well as people who aren't like other artists and like illustrators come to this, and they're like who previously weren't aware that this existed. It's quite a like inspirational and motivating thing to maybe be a part of next year's one. And I think it's definitely like for myself, it was like from like last year I came to last year's comic festival, and it was a lot smaller, and I saw it and like I wanted to be a part of next year's one. And when I was accepted to be a part of it, like drove me to like produce a bunch of new work to showcase, and I think it's definitely motivated me. So I think it's really a good thing. Yeah.
I think in the last 5 years or so, there's been a bit of a resurgence or a kind of an explosion of artists out there, and they're all kind of doing their own thing. I think before that everybody was doing their own thing in a little own, a bit in isolation. So nobody was really nobody knew what other people were doing. And now, at least with a platform like this, people get exposed to what's out there, who's doing what. It's also kind of like pushes people to get better and like do better stories and do better art, because it's like a bit of a one-upmanship, I suppose, which is it's healthy competition, I think, and just to kind of break free from the whole thing that for a long time comics were defined by what Bitter Comics was doing, which is fine. It's a good thing, I suppose. At least it got the ball rolling. But things are evolving, and there are new stories, other things people want to discuss and explore, and comics is a great way is a great medium to do that. And so a platform like this is invaluable, I think, in the long run, to get the art out there and get people interested in it, and hopefully build a readership and possibly an industry in the long run. But early days, so we'll see what happens.
I think it's very good. I mean, it exposes the people on the street to a whole new genre of storytelling, and also an art form. There's a lot of people that actually don't know that there's comics happening in South Africa, especially on such a level of independent publishing and things like that. And I think with more support and more people buying stuff, more people will start to create, and it'll get the industry going and open doors for people that might not have done that because there's no outlet for it. There's some guys doing stuff here that's on international level. Some of the guys are actually doing international work. I mean, it's stuff that gets published alongside the best that's out there, and I'm impressed. There's stuff that I don't know about. So I saw some stuff today and yesterday that really inspired me, and also showed me that things are actually happening, and people are doing stuff regardless of the size of the industry or the support that they're getting from big publishers or corporations. So
not only so that the public can see our work and actually know that we exist and that we are here, but also for the actual artists themselves. I mean, today and yesterday, through the whole event, we've met some artists that we only knew online, because we network a lot online. I mean, that's how it is today. Everything's digital. It's the digital era. But it's also great for young artists. Like, I've met a lot of young artists that have been involved in this event, and encouraging them, and even some who weren't involved in this event, coming and showing us their work and saying, I do this, and what do you think? And some of them are shy, and it's great. I suppose as a teacher as well, I like to encourage people. Some people where you have nothing to be scared of. You're brilliant. You're even more brilliant than I am. Why are you scared? But it's great for networking. It's great as a platform for artists, and it's great to give a platform and show the audiences what other art there is out there, what other creativity there is out there. So, and I think comics are coming more and more into the foreground, and illustration as well. So it's fantastic.
Well, it's quite amazing to be able to be surrounded by so many talented people, so many like-minded people finding each other. When you work separately by yourself, it's It's a very lonely, solitude-like living. But when we all get together, we all inspire each other. We all look at each other's work and say, "Oh, well, that guy's doing really great work, or that girl's got some exceptional talent." And you try and, for next year, you try and, okay, I'm going to do this better, I'm going to do that better, I'm going to have more of this or that stuff. And basically, it's a way of driving the community to just get better and better each time. And the better we get and the more exposure we get, the bigger this event becomes, and the better for everybody involved.
Well, I think that comics is like the last medium left where there's a direct sort of line between the creator and the people reading it. Almost everything else, like film and these big productions and stuff, involves so many different people and so many arbitrators of what's quality and what the story should be about. Where comics is just direct, and I love that universality about them. That it's also really easy to make one. I'm sure not everyone can draw, but everyone can write a comic and communicate what they want to. It's a very easy thing to get into and to love. To make it work for you and to make a living from it, a little harder, but it's really great.
And then I noticed the Comic Books Fest last year and I just missed it, and I really wanted to come to it, and I made sure I came to it this year. And coming to it this year is to see those people downstairs and from South Africa is amazing, and the talent down there is huge, and the rest of the world does not know about them, and the effort and the time they put into it and the quality of it. When I came here 10 years ago, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. I was looking for people. 10 years later, there's a whole pool of talent down there, which is awesome. It's truly awesome. It's international standard. It should be recognised. And then everybody's sitting downstairs and they're going, how do I make it? They're asking me questions, how do I make it? And I actually realise I can help them. Just encouraging them would help them. And having somebody behind them saying, but that's really good, you know. Most of those people downstairs are better than me, you know, and it's like, they're also, they're younger, they've got time. It's so exciting. I feel really, really pumped from meeting all these people, meeting the people coming in. And I did things years ago and they're coming up and going, but I collected those, I had those in school. And it's just so exciting to see that I've actually done something that's registered with people and as far away as here. It's been truly a brilliant experience for me. And I hope I've given out something back to the population, back to the people down there. I'm really excited for next year. I hope it gets bigger next year. It really deserves it. It should be encouraged so much. All the comics down there are art. They're an art form. The time it takes to do it, the skill it takes is huge, and people should realise that, and hopefully they'll recognise that. It's a tangible thing. When I came, there was nothing. I was looking for people. I thought, oh, there'll be people around, and there weren't. But all of a sudden, this huge influence. It's a change of attitude. South Africa's a changing country. It's a developing country. It's a young country. It's expanding quickly, and it's just learning to go global now. And influences from outside are coming in, but they're still being influenced by South Africa. There's a big debate about superheroes. They're not American, they can be South African. And it showed the world what South Africa has to develop. There's so much talent, there's so creative here. These guys, they've been starting from nothing, they're doing it on their own back. From nowhere, they've been locked in their rooms, and all of a sudden it's like, there's another one of me, and there's another one of me, and there's another one of me. And they realise they're not alone, and these events actually bring them together, and it helps them, and it encourages them, and it's like, I wasn't a pioneer, I was just doing what I was asked to do, and I just developed my skills to the approach that was needed. But these guys are doing things that they want to do, and they should be encouraged so much, so much, because it's so important. And in the next 5 years, those guys are going to be so big, and I hope, hopefully they'll be globally big, and they deserve it, the time, the effort,